There is a conception in Australia that VW will cost you more, or anything German, really, opposed to something out of Korea or Japan. Good. All right. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Jono.
Thanks for joining us on Owner Drive.
Thank you for having me.
Here at Owner Drive, we like to hear from owners about their cars because we reckon they're the best people to speak to, as opposed to a motoring journalist who's only had a car for a weekend or so. So thanks again for joining us.
No problem.
So you've got here a VW Golf.
Yep.
Max 6.
I guess so, yep.
What year model?
I think it's 2012.
2012. And can you take us back to when you purchased it?
Yeah, so I was actually overseas, so you purchased it on my behalf.
Yeah, that's right.
But yeah, I was after something hatchback, efficient, easy to drive, reliable. We looked at a few different ones. I'd previously had a Hyundai i30 diesel, and I really liked that for the fuel efficiency. And this sort of popped up in a similar price range, so we went with the Golf.
We did. How many clicks did it have on it at the time?
About 70,000 at the time.
And what have you got on it now?
It's gone over 150 now, so getting there.
That's a good amount of Ks.
Yep.
So take us through a typical week for the Golf. Is it your daily drive?
Yeah, so that's the one that we've got two cars, and that's the one that I take to work when I drive into work. And that's the one we usually use for all our weekend driving, so longer trips, etc.
So it wouldn't have been under warranty at the time. That
no warranty,
wasn't a consideration. What did you think about the styling at the time?
Yeah, I mean, it looks like a car. It's pretty straightforward. There's nothing, it's not trying to be anything it's not. It's not too extravagant, just does the job, and yeah.
Typical VW,
typical
so
VW.
a little more squared off,
Yep.
But I reckon that probably translates to better interior room than some of the hatches that are getting around, with the swooping lines.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff doesn't really do it for me. I think it looks a bit sporty, but probably dates very quickly, whereas the model or the design of the body of this hasn't changed much over the years.
Typically just you in the car?
Usually, yeah, yep.
How does it fare when there's other passengers on board?
Other passengers, yeah, fine. The extra weight, you don't really notice it. So usually it's just myself and my wife, but if we have other people in the back, you can probably fit 2 or 3 more.
Like a couple of my kids?
Yeah, yep, they fit in pretty nicely with their car seats and whatnot.
Excellent. So Brian, I think you're as big a fan of the hatchbacks as I am of the wagons.
Yeah, they're good.
You've had hatchbacks for as long as I've known you.
Yep.
And you've got more to choose from. Wagons are a dying breed these days, so there's plenty of hatches to go around. Can we take a look at that boot?
Yeah,
so I think
sure.
the official figure is just over 400 litres. And I've seen you pack this to the brim when we go camping.
Yep.
A couple of kayaks on the roof.
Yeah, with soft roof racks.
And a heap of gear in here as well. So that second row folds right down, doesn't it?
Yeah, they fold down. You can get you get the front seats folded down. I can actually get a kayak inside the car if I want to.
Yep.
Yeah, you always.
Bikes as well?
Bikes, yep. Get the bikes, fold the seats down, just take the front wheel off. And yeah, usually put a tarp or something between them to protect them.
And I noticed the Golf's usually a choice of car for the long trips.
Yeah.
Reasons being?
One, I think it's probably a nicer car to drive for a longer trip, and 2, it's so much better on the fuel when you're on the highway.
Okay. Oh, well, let's talk performance and economy then. So it's powered by a 2-litre turbo diesel engine.
Yep.
And you were after the turbo diesel at the time, weren't you?
Yeah, I'd had a diesel car previously, the i30, and yeah, the efficiency was quite desirable.
And what about performance?
Yeah, the performance is good. It's quick off the mark. Yeah, good acceleration, much more powerful than our other car.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've driven this diesel, and I reckon it's a cracker of an engine. Now, in terms of economy, I think the official figure is low 4s.
I think high 4s. So
high 4s?
4.7 maybe.
What are you getting?
It depends. Summer, winter, it changes slightly. Obviously, the aircon in summer brings it up, but usually I'd average between 4.8, 5.2.
Overall?
Overall,
And then out on the highway?
Out on the highway, if I'm driving on the highway for 100 Ks, it'll be sitting in the 3s.
3s? Well, that's pretty low. So those economy figures, Brian, what do they translate to in terms of distance travelled?
Yeah, so I usually restart the odometer every time I fill up, just out of curiosity, to make sure there's nothing out of the usual, and yeah, it's normally between 900 and 1,000 k's on an average run.
So you've cracked 1,000 kilometres.
Yeah, the best I did was when we went up to Rockhampton, so that's quite a long drive and it's all highway driving. And yeah, trip up, trip back, all in one tank, and it was about 1,200 k's all up between fill-ups.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked. I thought I'd have to fill up before we left, but no, it was going well.
All right, let's talk about costs. So servicing and maintenance. There is a conception in Australia that VW will cost you more, or anything German, really, as opposed to something out of Korea or Japan. Can you take us through any issues you've had in the past?
Yeah, probably the main thing that's happened is the radiator. So we had a small leak, and it started to flash the warning saying it's overheating or something like that. So we took it in to get serviced, and they said there was just a small crack and the radiator needed replacement. So, we got a good price on a replacement radiator through my wife's work because she gets some discounts there. So
that's handy.
Yeah, it helped out. I think all up it was maybe, I can't remember the overall cost, but maybe about $500 for the replacement.
Well, that's pretty reasonable. Any other car would be around the same mark.
Yeah, obviously, if you buy the original radiator, it would have cost probably a lot more, but aftermarket parts work much the same.
And that was just recently, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was about probably a few months ago.
Okay, so about 160,000 before that became an issue.
Yeah, I think it was pretty much bang on the 150k.
What about servicing?
Yeah, we take it in for its regular servicing. I think it's probably averages to about 300, 350 a service. Obviously, some services are more, some services are less. Sometimes it might be under 300, sometimes a bit over.
Is that markedly more than your other car?
Maybe a little bit, but I don't really think the difference is probably quite negligible.
And that's a Mazda 3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, where do you take it for the servicing?
We take it to Ultratune. We've got a friend who owns a branch there, so I suppose at least we know that we're in good hands there.
So never gone through VW?
No, never gone to VW.
Now I know with the Mach 6 Golf, there's quite a bit of material out there on the net saying it's got issues with electronics, potentially the DSG gearbox as well. Have you encountered any of those?
I've not had any issues with that. The DSG, I did read about that, and I understand that if something was to go wrong, it's probably better to get a new car than to get it replaced. But I suppose the value of the DSG and the smoothness of the drive probably makes it feel a bit more worth it, and there's been no issues, so maybe that's a rarity.
It is a nice drive, isn't it, with the DSG?
Yeah, no, it's really smooth.
Changes are incredibly quick. And you had that service done. I know there's an oil change with the DSG. It's a bit more involved. You've had that done a little while back.
Yeah, we had. Yeah, that's right. That's probably the other major service. Again, we just picked up the oil for the mechanic because we got that at a good price, and he was able to do that for us. And it was, I think, just the length of the time to do all the bleeding and whatever else they do was pretty
fantastic. So you can tell it's a diesel, of course, but it's not the usual noisy type of diesel you get in the trade and work cars.
Yeah, it's pretty quiet. Murray drove it this morning, and he definitely noticed a difference in the revs compared to a petrol engine, but I think I'm used to that now.
What did you think, Marius?
It was a bit slow off the mark, like there's that 1-2 second delay just when you hit the accelerator.
Yep.
But then it goes like mad.
Murray actually asked me, when does the turbo kick in? And I said, well, I've got no idea. My understanding is from my old car, which was a manual, is that it will kick in at each gear change. But because you don't really know when the gears are changing unless you look at the information, it just all seems to happen automatically. So,
well, it spools up as the revs rise, but of course you don't have the typical noisy blow-off sound that you get with the performance models, the GTI, letting you know that the turbo is there. In this car, you barely hear it.
Yeah, I don't really want to know that it's there to that point. I don't think everyone needs to know about that.
So pretty comfortable inside.
Got no complaints.
Reasonably quiet. I'm in the back, so I think I do just fit. I'm 6'2" and a little bit. I noticed your head lining's coming down, your roof lining.
Yeah, that's probably one of the, if I had a complaint about the car, that would be one. Obviously, it's nearly 10 years old now, and the German engineering may not match up to our Queensland sun.
Yeah, that's not isolated to German cars. That happens to a lot of cars in Australia because of our strong sun here. So the VW Golf would be a very popular car on used car lots these days. And you could probably pick one of these up for around 10,000. Are you a happy owner?
Yeah, I'd say I'm really, really happy with it, yeah.
Most importantly, you wanted fuel economy, and it delivers on that
Absolutely.
and performs well as well.
Yeah, and the added bonus of not having to worry about the petrol price because diesel doesn't seem to go through the same cycles as unleaded in Queensland at least.
That's true, it doesn't fluctuate.
No, so I can go any time of the week, any time of the year, and if I know the petrol station, I'll probably know the price.
And you can get through 1,000 kilometres as well.
Yeah, more or less, yep.
Fantastic. Now there's people's reservations about the electronics and the DSG. You haven't experienced those.
No issues with the DSG and no issues that are inherent to the car with the electronics. One minor thing was one time at a service station, the petrol cap, which is electronically locked, fell out of sync with the locking of the car, so I managed to get that resolved just by unlocking and locking a few times, but that's not a frequent occurrence.
So if you're in the market for another car, would you consider Golf or another VW?
Yeah, definitely. I'm quite happy with it. The performance, the comfort, yeah.
Great. All right, how about a score out of 10 for the VW Golf?
Oh, probably 8 out of 10. It's not perfect, no car is. But yeah, for what it does it pretty well.
It's a solid score. Okay, Brian, well, thanks again for joining us.
No worries, thank you.